Canadian banks will receive the names of people involved in Freedom Convoy protests that have descended on the nation's capital, a first step in a promised financial crackdown on demonstrators being instituted by the far-left government of Justin Trudeau. Bloomberg reports the Canadian Bankers Association confirmed the Royal Canadian Mounted Police has alerted banks to a list of names and made it available. The institutions are reportedly still seeking clarity from the law enforcement on how to handle the alleged protesters' accounts, according to people familiar with the matter. But Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland said some accounts have already been frozen, as the news outlet reported.
The names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions, and accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen. Crowdfunding platforms and payment service providers have started the registration process with FinTrack. In terms of the specifics on whose accounts are being frozen, you now have the regulations. The financial service providers have those regulations as well, and they, working with law enforcement, will be making the operational decisions.
Under the Emergencies Act invoked last week by Trudeau, law enforcement officials have the ability to arrest people for obstruction of roadways and disruptive behavior within a no-go exclusion zone. They also have the power to seize vehicles and freeze the same bank accounts. Conservatives were quick to accuse Trudeau of embracing to emergency powers and of freezing bank accounts without evidence of any extremist activity. Conservative leader Candice Bergen said, "Throughout the last 3 weeks, the Prime Minister has failed to take meaningful action to de-escalate the protest here or use any tools that he may have available. Instead, he has jumped straight to the most extreme measure." Trudeau, who has called the protests against a COVID mandate for truckers and other restrictions an illegal occupation, reportedly resorted to the emergency powers following a second weekend of protests. Bloomberg outlined exactly how the bank will cooperate with the government. The emergency orders require virtually every participant in the Canadian financial system – banks, investment firms, credit unions, loan companies, security dealers, fundraising platforms, and payment and clearing services – to determine whether they possess or control property of a person who is attending an illegal protest or providing supplies to demonstrators. According to the regulations, if they find such a person in their customer list, they must freeze their accounts and report it to the RCMP or Canada's Intelligence Service. Any suspicious transactions must also be reported to the country's anti-money laundering agency known as FinTrack. Freeland said that this step is just the first in a broad range of financial disincentives it will hit the protesters with. Trudeau formally launched parliamentary debate on his use of emergency powers Thursday, pleading the situation could not be dealt with under any other law in Canada. He said that the blockades are a threat to our economy and a relationship with trading partners. They are threats to supply chains and the availability of essential goods like foods and medicine. They are a threat to public safety. Well, I'd like to know your thoughts and responses. Share them in the comments down below, and also share this news and support us through subscribing to our channel. Stay tuned for the real stuff on Next News Hour.